What's going on? It's Kevin Kenny. Welcome to the Build series. A lot of claps. We're excited about this one. We're going out on a high note today. One of my favorite singers, songwriters, musicians over the past few years is here to talk about his brand new deluxe edition of the album My New Moon. He's also headed out on tour in 2019. We're going to get into that. But first, let's give a warm Build welcome to Amos Lee.
Super awkward.
You can't see this at home, but it's such a contrast. We're hanging out, we're watching your video, the lights are off, it's like nighttime in New York City right now, and then just out of nowhere, we're gonna do this interview live in front of all these cameras. So it's a little unnatural, but cheers, brother, by the way.
Wow, to you, man.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I'm actually,
My pleasure.
I'm always excited to have guests on. It's almost a cliche thing to say in situations like this, but I'm actually really stoked, genuinely, that you're here because we were supposed to do this in September. Schedules didn't align, but I heard the record back then, pre-deluxe version of My New Moon, and there's just a lot to talk about before we even get into the deluxe version. The reviews have been tremendous for this. I've heard at the very same time it described as your most personal body of work, and then also an album that is able to heal others. I was curious, as an artist, which of those two compliments is the greater achievement?
Well, I wonder what it says about my other albums if they were like, well, that's not personal at all. But I don't know. I'm happy to heal. I'm happy to be a part of any conversation. The impetus for a lot of this record was with this work that I'm doing, like with the Melodic Caring Project and Musicians on Call, if anybody's a musician in the house. So it's an awesome thing to be a part of because it kind of breaks down all of the stuff. So a lot of times in my work environment, it's kind of like I'm taking a stage and I'm singing to people, and I'm not able to like get in to the moment with the people in the room. I mean, I can, but not in the way that you're in a hospital room with someone who doesn't know your music at all. It like really breaks down all of the boundaries between people, and they're just listening to you sing. And I just wanted to kind of further that statement and take that connection that I feel so lucky to have made with people in these rooms into the album and into this experience I had with my grandmother, which I think is a big part of the personal part of this record, which is I was with her in her dying moments, in the last moments of her life, where there's a song on the record called All You Got Is a Song, and it was just me and her at like 4:30 in the morning, and she was, sorry to be, this is gonna make people sad, but she was going through it. Like, she was having heart failure, and it was just the two of us, and she couldn't speak anymore, so I just held her hand and sang to her. So I'm glad that that comes across as me sharing a real story with everybody else, because I know that she loved the music that I make, and she would come to all my shows, and I miss her a lot, and I wanted to pay tribute to her and to some of these kids who have fought through their illnesses, and some friends who I've lost, like Jack, and some friends who I've kept in touch with named Maya. I keep them on my wrist all the time, so, yeah.
I wanted to ask you about the moments you shared with your grandmother. You were talking about in a recent interview I was listening to, and I was wondering, not that is a moment that needs takeaways, but Did you leave that learning anything just about life, about what's important? I mean, I heard that story, and it just came back to music and the beauty of music, right? Mm-hmm. This person, this loved one of yours, their last moments, all they want is the music that they love.
Mm-hmm. Well, my grandmother was someone who taught me what grace means. That was her whole thing. And so in that song, there's a lyric, is you held my hand to keep me strong, and that was her whole thing. It's like, she's dying, and I'm there, and she's holding my hand. She's gonna sing, telling me, like, it's gonna be all right. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's deep. Crazy. That's grace. That's what, I don't know, grandmothers and mothers have that other people just don't have. And so, yeah, I learned that from her. Not that I don't think I'll ever be able to be as graceful as she was, but sometimes when I sing, I can get into that part of her grace. And I hear her, sometimes when I'm singing, I hear her voice in mine.
Interesting. In your head or just in your own voice?
No, and like
audibly.
I hear, because she talk, like, I don't know if you ever do this. Like, you ever talk and you hear like your parents' voice coming out of your mouth a little bit, just the timbre of it, I hear my grandmother's voice a lot when I'm singing. Not when I'm speaking, but when I'm singing.
Would you say more than anybody else's voice?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This journey that led to you to this great body of work we're going to get into a little bit more. It's really interesting, and you touch on this. I think it's a trap as an artist, and you were able to avoid the trap. Is that you get really good at doing the things you do professionally, right? Like how to do it, if you will. You get really good at how you do the show, how you make the songs, whatever, what have you, I should say. But the why, right? Like, why are you doing this? Like, why do you do this every night? What is the bigger why? Of course, you found that now, but can you take me back to the moment where you were having this dilemma?
Yeah. It was around the Mission Bell album, which was a real breakthrough record for me in a lot of ways, and I was really unhappy. I was just not enjoying it. I was kind of being an ass, you know? I was like not appreciating what was happening. So this kid, this guy, Jack McGuire, his parents are from New York. They're from, I think they live out in Westchester somewhere. And they came to a show of mine in Massachusetts, and they came to a meet and greet after the show, which I don't do a lot of those, but they came back there and they shared Jack's story with me. And they said, you know, Jack was our boy, and he passed away, and in the last moments of his life, we all listened to your music a lot together and shared these comforting moments with each other. And I guess I'd never really felt that way. Like when I started in my career, I think I was just like kind of unprepared for it, because I had no background in music. I don't come from a family of artists, really. Like, my family is very working class, and they're amazing people, but I didn't have anybody to be like, hey, what do you do in the beginning? Which is why I like to mentor artists now and tell them in the beginning, like, don't worry about it, you're going to be okay. But I'd never really come to the point that I was like, oh, I'm affecting people's, like, these experiences in their lives that are deeply personal for them. I got to take this seriously and give more, because I wasn't really giving a lot. I was really internal. And anybody who struggles with, like, self-esteem and self-doubt, which I've done a lot of in my life, can kind of fall into that's a trap. Talk about a trap, that's a trap. This trap of, like, no, this is terrible, I suck, why am I here, why are these people in the audience? And you still have to kind of go, but when I met the McGuire family and they shared Jack's story with me and they shared their story with me, it then kind of took me out and went like, oh, right, now I can kind of put a little more attention on the service. And it's a weird word to use, but I can put this attention on service to people and get out of my own head and get out of my own way when I'm singing these songs that people want to hear. So
if it didn't occur to you that your music was having this effect on people, this profound effect on people, what was the intention of making music? Because I think for so many artists, they dream of having that effect.
I just love doing it.
You just love doing it. Just the way it made you feel. Getting back to that internal thing, it was how about kind of early on maybe how it made you feel doing this?
I don't know, man. It's like good cooks making omelets. It's like this is just what you do.
Yeah.
You know? Like, it's not a fancy thing. You're at home, you're on your couch, you pick up a guitar and you write a song. And then all of a sudden you're on a stage and the whole thing is just very different. And instead of, like, embracing that and having, like, spreading joy, and I was trying to spread joy anyway. It's not like my intentions were to be shitty, but internally I wasn't feeling that connection. So, yeah, I don't know. I think it was just like getting out of your own way as a performer and having fun. That's the thing you hear a lot of people say, is like, is this fun? It's like, it wasn't fun for a while, but it was because my perspective was not right.
Did you have difficulty being in the moment? Because I think that's where the fun is, right?
Yeah,
when you
definitely.
Can actually...
No, absolutely. Yeah. It was completely that. It's like whatever negative self-talk you have in any moment, it's like that is always prohibitive.
Where's the self-doubt come from?
Oh, I mean, lifelong of being raised by Catholics, for sure. Absolutely.
Simple as that.
Yeah.
You've talked about the self-doubt in previous interviews regarding this album, and I was just curious to get your opinion because, you know, you sort of broke as a musician before this big advent of social media. Mm-hmm. And I feel like so many artists these days must be so deterred and defeated by social media, negative comments and what have you, or maybe just like the lack of growth of a following.
Yeah.
The list goes on and on. Do you think you could have made it, you know, with that self-doubt if social media had been at the scale it is today?
Well, the first article that came out on me that really, in any of my cycles, outside of the Inquirer, Tom Moon is a great writer. He wrote a cool thing on me. But there was an article that came out, I won't mention which paper it was, but it destroyed me. said I was nothing but a marketing scam and all this other shit. And I read it and I was like, fuck. Like that was hurt. That was pretty hurtful. And back then it was like people really were like, there was like 4 newspapers, big newspapers, and they read them in Rolling Stone and whatever. I've had to deal with my own share of that stuff. I don't think you get away with putting yourself in public and not having to deal with how you reckon with criticism. It's just you have to do it, whether it's social media or whether it's whatever. This is a very opinion-based business. It's very subjective. You know, I sing a song to you and to these folks, and they all feel potentially very different about it. And some folks feel extremely positive, and some people feel extremely not positive. I don't know, young folks. I wish them well. I have some friends who are in young bands, and I'm like, I just try to stay real positive with them, because I realize that they do take a lot of that stuff very personally, and I don't know. It's hard for me to say what would my path have been with social media in 2005. I don't know. I still don't really mess with it, but I see the value in it too, though. You know, it's like you get to connect with your fans and go really into a deep personal place with yourself, experience like day-to-day life with your favorite artists. That's a crazy thing to do.
Imagine like telling us that like 20 years ago. Just like
I know. Well, I'm in a way, I'm old school like that because I don't even follow my favorite artists on social media. I don't want to know. Yeah. I'm good.
The mystique is valuable.
I just want to hear the songs.
Totally. You're talking about just this connection with your fans that social media affords us. One particular fan that we heard in studio in that video, is it Mia?
Maya.
Maya, excuse me, Maya.
Yeah.
Can you tell the story of Maya?
Yeah, so I met her through this Melodic Caring project, and when I got involved with them, like I told in the video and that I had to watch, which was cringeworthy for me. Thank you for doing that to me. I appreciate it. So we played a show in Seattle, and they gave us a list of names, and she was in Seattle. They told us where her hometown was. I was like, I'm going to go to her house because we had a day off the next day. So I went to her house and met her family. Man, she is the coolest kid. And she was really sick, you know. She was, like, really sick, going to chemo, like, 3-4 times a week. And she was just cool. She was, like, the person that looks through you, and I love that. I love the people who are just like, I see through all of it, and I just want to talk about the real stuff. And we were just friends, like, immediately. So I wanted to pay tribute to her. And so when I go to these places and play in the hospitals, you need, like, uplifting music, and I generally don't write that. So I had to write an uplifting song for Maya. So I wrote this song, Little Light, for her. And she actually sings on it. She's on the choruses with her little brother Braden. So we found a way to get her on the track, which I always wanted to do.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Speaking of, Little Light is just one of the many tracks we have here on the deluxe edition of the album. Light, just the word light appears in a lot of the titles of these songs.
Yeah.
What is the theme of light with this record?
I don't know. I've noticed that actually in a lot of songs over the past year. I think it's because we're all reckoning with this, like, changing scope. And that we're all so involved in this extreme experience with screens and light, and the world around us feels extremely scary a lot of times and broken. I mean, a lot of people have felt that way for a long time, but it's just very present in this very modern age. It's like you hear a lot of stories that are really heartbreaking, and you hear them a lot. So I don't know. I think it also has to do with abundance and the fear of losing abundance and suffering and confronting suffering, all of those things. I mean, that's sort of the experience of all humanity. It's never really been any different, but now there's abundance that the world has never known. There's also suffering because of the shadow of abundance that the world has never really known either. So that would be my right now in this moment take on it, but I've noticed that in a lot of songs. There's a lot of, like, contrast. Yeah. It's mostly contrast.
Yeah. I want to dive into some of these songs and some of the influences, at least I hear. Maybe you could shed some more, no pun intended, light on them. Louisville is a song that I really enjoy off the record.
Oh, cool.
I hear a lot of Springsteen, though, on that song.
I know, that's what I've heard.
Yeah?
I think of it more as petty.
Oh.
But I like both of them.
Where'd you grow up?
Philly.
Okay, well, all right.
Not Tom Petty.
Yeah.
No, but I love Petty, man. He's like, that's my favorite.
Yeah. Would you say he's like your hero?
Um,
Do you have a musical hero?
Oh, I like Prine a lot, and I like Bill Withers a lot. They've always been my two go-tos as like, but I have a bunch of musical heroes.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's like 50.
Totally. Another song that I wanted to ask you about is Little Bear.
Oh, yeah.
I hear a lot of Cat Stevens on Little Bear.
Okay. You're just getting me in all different angles. All of the, like, you're like leafing through the record catalog going, like, Amos is in all of these.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I love that song. That's one of my favorite things we did on this record, and that's a lullaby that I sent to Maya when she was in the hospital. She was actually going through chemos, and her dad texted me because I'm up late, and they're on the West Coast, so I was maybe the only person he knew that was still awake at like 3 a.m., so he texted me, and I sent him that, and she would go to sleep a lot of nights listening to that song. And so I've sent it to all my friends who have little kids and try to put them to bed. I don't know. I like it. It's a sweet little tune.
Oh, it's beautiful. Even if you're not a little kid, I can attest. To it.
Yeah, right. You put yourself to sleep with
I'm
that.
falling asleep to it. Well, you gave us, is it 4 or 7 new tracks on the Deluxe? I thought it was 4, but then I read 7.
Somewhere between 4 and 7.
It's a lot. And there's a protest song, I guess you could say, right? Would you call Crooked a protest song?
Crooked, I don't know. It's an awareness song. You protest, it's just knowing what's happening.
Right.
Being aware.
Those are always tricky, though. How'd you approach that one?
Well, I like to inject myself into the narratives, especially when it's. I don't like to be like you're wrong and I'm right, because I'm fucked up. Artists are fucked up too. We're as fucked up as everybody else is. Excuse me if there's people out there that shouldn't hear that word, but I don't know. I know what my beliefs are. I'm about compassion and empathy. Those are the things that I want to really draw upon, and it feels like that's every day it's less and less in our public life, even interpersonally or like with our families at Thanksgiving or whatever. It's because, again, with the contrast, like these lines feel harder, and everything feels a little bit more like driven between what is this and what is that. And in Crooked, I'm trying to just give you my real feeling on the situation, which is like, yes, obviously we live in there's like, corruption is pretty much the rule. And I've been corruptible, and I know people who are corruptible, but I still don't stand for it. Like, I still believe in these things like empathy and kindness and acceptance. Like, I don't want to see a child crying because they're taken away from their parent. That just feels base and like the most inhumane thing you can do to another person. And we should have learned those lessons by now. We should have that wisdom by this point.
You're touching on a lot of current events on the new tracks we've gotten off the Deluxe version. There's a song that is inspired by or tied to the events in Charlottesville last year, I understand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I've got a bunch of friends. My manager in the back lives in Charlottesville. And again, it's like, I mean, I realized over the past, like Ferguson, when I was looking at the news and Ferguson happened, I was like, it's just so hard, man. We come from such a our history is so broken, and I feel so strongly about like the connections we make musically. Like, as a musician, this is my whole life. It's like overcoming my own self-doubt, trying to connect with people who I don't have a lot in common with, be it like whatever genre or whatever it is. And to see people in the streets who are standing and marching for hatred and for racism and being like, no, this is not it. Like, your time this is it. You're done. I want you to know that that's how I feel about you. And I know you might feel that way about me too, but I want that time to be over.
Right.
And it's written from the narrative of a wife of one of these people who's like, this is the most personal experience you can have, and they want to walk away from you because you are so entirely unlovable because of the way that you approach the world around you.
And that's where the Fading Light comes into play on that song.
Well, no, that's really about eugenics. So, yeah, no, it's really about like, this is not what it is, man. Like, don't be afraid.
Right.
Embrace the world around you. you are just as fucked up as everybody else, and your time is over.
Right. There's something about your music in closing here before I turn it over to the fans that I want to ask you about, where I just feel like no matter what the current trends of music are, what's going on in the world of music, there's always just a place for Amos Lee. Like, I just feel like you've been this constant, since '05, as you alluded to before.
You call me old?
Well, no. I would never, Amos. But what is it about your music? If you had to, theorize or guess, it's just like you've just existed. I feel like so independently of trends. And
yeah, my influences are classic. Those are the people that I love, and my interests. And you were talking about early on in this interview about like if it wasn't about like. If the self-doubt was a big part of the equation, what was it for me? And it was always about like writing songs that I love and that hopefully will live for a long time and that other people can listen to as writers or as people in 60, 70 years and like them as much as the day that I put them out. I don't really want to follow trends because I'm not grasping at that. Like, I'm not thirsty in that way.
Yeah.
I'm happy to like put a song out like Little Bear that hopefully, 35, if we're still around, if these climate reports are maybe wrong, hopefully they're sort of wrong or we can fix them. In 35, 50, 60 years, someone can be like, did you ever hear that? And be like, no, check this out. I like that. I want that discovery to always be a part of the music I make.
Totally.
Which is fine. It's like Tavis Smiley called me a no-hit wonder, and that is exactly what my career has been.
Let's get to some of these fan questions. The first is going to come from right over here.
Hi.
What's your name?
Oh, my name is Randy.
Randy.
Nice to meet you. I was wondering, as an artist who overcame self-doubt and
I didn't overcome it. I'm just letting you know.
Somebody who used music as his outlet for self-doubt. I was wondering, what would your advice to be for other artists who feel like they are held back because of their own self-doubt?
Yeah. Well, I want to tell you this. It's not like I wake up every day and I'm like, I suck. I'm the worst. Like I know that like I can do my thing and I'm cool, but there's a drummer named James Gadsden who's like the legendary drummer, one of the most legendary drummers of all time, and he was Bill Withers' drummer, and he played on my first record, and he took me aside like while I was making the first few songs, and he took my hand, and he has like these big drummer hands, and he took my hand and he said, never let them break your spirit. And that's sort of the mantra, Ben. It's like, just don't let them break your spirit. No one, yourself included, but like, just know that you're like, the song. If you serve the song and you keep writing from your heart, you'll be fine. You're going to get in your own way a lot. I mean, shit, I do it every day, but yeah, I don't know. I don't have a solid answer to you other than like, write from your heart and sing like the songs you love and play with people you love.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Question number 2.
Hi.
Hey.
I also, I know that you mentioned that.
Can I know your name?
Oh, Tatiana.
Tatiana. Thank you. Sorry if it's annoying, but
No, it's okay. I know you speak a lot about songwriting, and that's something that I struggled with as well, like writing songs or writing poetry. So I wanted to know, how do you tell the full story without, making it like this long essay,
right.
and like being compact into the song?
yeah, that's tough. I've actually done a couple co-writes with people who, I don't know, but naturally the form that a lot of my writing takes is song. You have to be comfortable with abstraction and being like, they might not get exactly what I mean, and that is going to make it even better. But I don't know. I think I get what you're saying. It's like you want to say exactly what you mean, but you can't, because it's not really about what you mean. It's about what someone else thinks it means. So I don't know. For me, it's the connection to abstraction and being comfortable with like putting it out there and knowing that you might be misunderstood, and that might make the song even better.
Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Time for one final question. Will come from over here.
Hi, my name is Lexi.
Lexi.
Nice to meet you. I was wondering, so I actually got to be here for a interview with Billy Corgan where he said, where he kind of talked about his admiration for Lil Peep, which was really surprising to me. So I know you talked a little bit about your musical heroes. I was wondering if there was anyone that we probably wouldn't expect and why.
It's a great question. That you wouldn't expect. There's probably a lot of them. I know, and I am a huge fan of 90s R&B, and I know more than everyone in this room about 90s R&B, and I'm very confident in that.
Name some names.
I mean, you name some names. I can go down the list, man.
Are we talking like
I went
Drew
to
Hill, Jagged Edge? Are we
that's
talking
too,
like
that's even too easy for me.
All right. So who are you thinking, like John B?
John B's great.
Okay.
John B.
Is that the level of like how deep are we going with this?
We're going pretty deep.
All
like
right.
we're going like Escape.
Okay.
You know, I'm going actually probably a little further than you're. What, 26?
27. Yeah.
7, right? So.
Check my ID before we say
Yeah,
this.
that's right. You know, so you're talking about like 2002. I'm talking about like 94.
Dude, I'm talking about. We can talk Escape.
You weren't even born yet,
Bro, I can talk 90s R&B with you, Amos. I can talk 90s R&B with you.
So, I would say that my favorite group from the 90s is SWV. That's my stuff. But Luther is my favorite singer of all time. So Luther Vandross is my guy. But modern times, like, I don't know, I can get into Lil Xan. I like all that stuff.
Lil Xan?
I listen to all. The cool thing about Spotify is you can listen to anything. And, like, I just listen to, like, Get Turnt for, like, a day, like the Get Turnt mix, and I'm like, all right, I learned it all. I've got it. Yeah. Good question. But we could go down a very deep rabbit hole on that one.
We got to trade R&B playlists. Or
would love
maybe you
that.
just give me yours.
Be careful with it.
Yeah. My favorite, like, what's your number one 90s R&B song? I have mine. Why I ask.
Wow, there's so many. Probably, shoot. I mean, I feel like I should go Boys to Men, but I'm probably gonna go.
You're not going to do Weak, SWV?
Week is great. I went to see SWV last summer. It was off the chains. It was SWV and Vogue, and there's another artist on the bill. I was just there for SWV and En Vogue. I didn't care about anything else, but I don't know. I'm down with Can You Stand the Rain by New Edition. That's kind of my jam.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could all. That's almost like 80s, no?
No, bro.
No. All right. We'll check it out. I'm gonna go Cupid 112. How about that? Can you get down to some
Good.
Cupid 112?
Very good.
Very good.
I went to the Bad Boy reunion tour too, so.
Yo, Amos, we got some talking to do. All right, this guy, aside from his love of R&B from the 1990s, is headed out on tour in 2019, right?
I am.
Right, and we can check out dates.
Yeah,
Just-
I'll be around. We're gonna do a couple dates in Nashville at the Ryman. We're gonna be in Philly at the new Met. We'll be running around a lot.
Cool. All right. And where can they check that out? Do you have like a?
But New York people don't come to Philly, so
Yeah. What's up? It's like it's so.
I don't
close.
know.
I grew up
You
in
got-
Jersey. I'd go down to Philly all the time.
you guys should come down. It's a wonderful place.
Very popular in Philly now. All right. Well, Amos, thank you so much,
Cheers,
man.
man. Thanks
Yeah,
for having me.
pleasure.
Appreciate you.